full house. Okay. So, dear friends, honorable guests, first, welcome to Slovenia and Ljubljana. And also greetings to everybody who's following us online. So my choice, my voice, my choice movement made history in December. Seemingly, they had an impossible task ahead. So they had to convince conservative majority European Parliament to adopt a resolution on abortion. And they did it. And boy, they did it. This was an initiative that started in Slovenia. It soon grew into the biggest, if not the biggest, feminist movement in Europe. There are a movement of friends, activists, individuals from all walks of life, of all genders and different age groups, who joined together with a shared wish to make Europe a better place. My voice, my choice have left a permanent mark on the European institutions in Brussels, and they really showed how politics should be done. From the people, for the people. My voice, my choice has placed reproductive rights firmly on the European political agenda. And today we are going to discuss this incredible journey, which is a journey of struggle, of power, of procedures, of accountability, but also of something very basic, of our core values, of human dignity, but also of hope. And although the resolution that the Parliament adopted is not legally binding, it is politically very significant. And we will discuss today why. It is my immense pleasure and honor to welcome here two distinguished guests and speakers to unpack what the vote really meant for Europe and for women. First, I want to welcome Iratxe García Perez, the President of Socialists and Democrats, the second biggest group in the European Parliament. Welcome. And also with us on stage, a great pleasure and honor to welcome a fierce individual who I'm sure needs no introduction, and also became a very dear friend of mine, Nika Kovač, the coordinator of My Voice, My Choice movement. So, I want to start this with a simple question for Iratxe. Why was this vote so important or historic?
It's difficult, and I have to tell you something. When I was voting in this exact moment, I was expecting to see the result. And when I saw the result, the first thing that I was thinking is in Nika and the rest of the young people that work a lot for this initiative. And maybe for this it's so important, because I always say that the future in the European Union, it's only granted is if we can grant it a feminist Europe. If we cannot grant it feminist Europe, Europe has not a future. I'm thinking in the future, I'm thinking in the young generation, in young people like Nika and like the other colleagues that were working in My Voice, My Choice. And I have to tell you something. Sometimes I'm frustrated, sad, when I see some votes in the parliament, thinking, oh, it's incredible, we are not having a good result, and we are negative, but thinking in young people like you, it's like change everything, your mind, and think it's possible, we have hope, and this is what we have to do. Try to work together with the different generations, thinking, first of all, to say thank you to our mothers, to our grandmothers, for making it possible to have women like me taking power. This is the first thing. Thank you. Without your work, without the work of our mothers, of our grandmothers, could be totally impossible to give me and us the opportunity to be in a decision-making power. And second, thank you to our young women that understand perfectly well that our rights are not granted. We have to fight day by day, and we cannot accept that our children will have less right than our mothers. And for this was really, really very important vote. Thinking in the past, in our last generations, everything that they did it, everything that you did it, but thinking about what we can grant it for our next future generations.
Thank you so much. And now, Nika, I turn to you. What did this vote mean to you?
That it's finally the end of one chapter of our life. Basically, for us, when we entered the European Parliament, it was like, shit, this is a terrible place to be, because we got lost all the time. We didn't understand how it is functioning. There is like a hairdresser, shops, like restaurants. It's like a big shopping mall where you somehow need to coordinate. And we realized very soon on the meetings, the first meetings that we had, that we are not dressed properly, that we don't speak properly, that they're looking at us like aliens. Not her. This is a whole other story of how we met. But for us, it was a moment when we were thinking like a group of girls from Slovenia, why they would take us seriously, even though we have 1 million signatures. And then we went on this 2 months journey, 3 months. We moved to Brussels. We stopped our private life. We almost killed each other in this apartment because we were living together for too long. But when the final vote approached, we realized 2 things. One thing is that people who are politicians a lot of them are very good human, who wants to change the world, who wants to change the society, and who are there with a mission to do something. And when we started to feel this, we realized that we need to trust the institution, that we need to trust the people in the institution, and that together we can do something beautiful. And secondly, that reproductive rights are not a divisive topic, and that for people in the European Parliament, at the end of the day, it did not matter that we are a group of girls from Slovenia, that we do not have any power behind us, just the people. What mattered was the content. And for me, it was so refreshing after like all the shit that we are listening in Slovenia to come somewhere and have like a constructive debate about content, which basically made me believe again in the world, in the institutions, and in the society itself. And on the day of the final vote, we were sure we will lose. We always think we will lose, but we were sure we will lose. And when we won, for us, it was just like a moment when everything came together. And I remember like running to the place where the voting happened, and I saw her and she was screaming like, "You did it! We did it!" And it was like such a beautiful moment when everything came together.
So, following almost 1.2 million signatures, an overwhelming majority in the European Parliament, but also almost a consensual vote in the European Economic and Social Committee, European Commission is next. And how do we put pressure on the Commission to listen to the Parliament, the citizens, everybody, and to act? Iratxe, maybe for you.
We will do it like we did it in the Parliament, working together, crossing our fingers and pushing a lot. I cannot guarantee today what will be the result, but I can guarantee you that you will come with us, with the Social Democrats group in the European Parliament. Of course, we have a relation, we have a cooperation with the European Commission. When we decided to support the current European Commission, we insist with our conditions about this feminist roadmap, where we include the abortion rights. It's not yet on the paper, but it's something important. And I'm sure that together we can try to push for it. And really, we have to send a clear message. If the European Parliament, that is the institution representing the citizens, approve this initiative. The European Commission has the responsibility to follow the same position, because if we are representing what people think, they have to do the same, because they are a democratic institution. And this has to be, Nika, our principal argument. 1 million of signatures are very important, but it's the same important to think that who represent the European citizens, that is the European Parliament, take a clear position. And now the European Commission has to follow, and we will work on it.
Like for us in My Voice, My Choice, this is the question if like Ursula von der Leyen personally will turn her back against women in Europe. The fact is that 20 million of women do not have access to safe abortion. The fact is that women are still killed in Polish hospitals. The fact is that women in Malta can go to prison if they have an abortion. The fact is that women in Croatia cannot get an abortion. And basically, these are severe health risks. These are very, very hard situations. And if they will say no, they will show two things. One is that they don't care about women, and secondly, that they're an undemocratic institution. What we will do as My Voice, My Choice, we will bully them, as we bully politicians who are like trying to move away from the democratic solutions. And luckily, we are now reaching a record in My Voice, My Choice. Now, 470 million people are watching our posts every month, which means that we are having the back of the people from everywhere in the world who are watching the Commission, and also we have some good allies, and I think we will make their decision very hard.
So access to abortion is much more than just an individual reproductive health issue. It's also the access is also the issue of economics and gender equality. Can you afford to travel to do your abortion if you cannot do it at your own place? I want to ask Iratxe, why do you, if you think that people who object abortion, do they object women's power to decide on their own body, which essentially means that they do not want women to be free? Why do you think some people don't want women to be free?
Because we are not under their control. This is the question. And this is their problem. Of course, it's not our problem. They want to have all of us, and especially women, under control. And we are free to decide about our own lives, bodies, and decide what we want to do with our lives. But you insist in something that for me it's very important. That is not a health issue. That, of course, is. But it's something maybe more to explain that the access to the abortion is not a privilege. Because people who are against say, no, we are against abortion. Sorry, I'm not saying that you have to do it. No, only I'm saying that we need the freedom to do it if we have to do it. This is the question, no? And I remember, for example, in my country, when we started with this debate and when we approved the abortion law and when we changed after that for more progressive abortion law, it's always the same in the history. The progressive push, work, and have finally the result with these progressive laws, abortion in this case. And we support, we work, and we have the final result. With the conservative against, but the day after, they start to enjoy the same rights than us. We are not working for our rights. We are working for the rights to everybody in the European Union. This is something important. It's something similar than when we approved the same-sex marriage, for example, in Spain, no? Because EPP conservative started, they voted against, of course, they went to the courts, and when the courts decide, no, it's constitutional and we have to support, this day, they decided to marry it between them, no? It's always the same. We, as a progressive, fighting for the rights for the citizens, for all citizens. They are attacking, and at the end, they are enjoying these rights, because this is our work. We have to work for the population, not for our own interests. And this is very important for me to insist on it.
And Nika, for you, what was the biggest challenge for you in the parliament? Who was the most difficult to convince?
The last.
No, I wanted to start with a story about Maria de la Pisa, but I don't want to go there. So, but
Spanish far right.
yeah, Spanish far right. I think the hardest thing was not convincing politicians. The hardest thing was firstly to understand how the procedures work, because I think that European Parliament is built in a way that citizens do not know what is happening inside. And that it's basically in the interest of the people, not who are there elected, but who are forming the system, that it's the system far away from the people. So for us, it was like a very big difficulty to even understand like what is a committee? Like what does it mean that the resolution needs to go through the committee? What does it mean that it comes to the plenary? I still remember the first vote in the FEM committee when the vote was happening and we were watching Lina, who was like leading the session, and we're like, about what they're voting now? Like when it's my voice, my choice, when we should be happy. And I think like I want to mention this here because we're in Slovenia, that for us, like the most important thing was when we entered the parliament that we had Matjaž and his team. And I will always say this, I never met more humble and more honest and more kind politician than Matjaž. And and I think that the first meeting that we had in the parliament, we came there in the summer. We were dressed like we were going to the beach. Everyone were making fun of us. But Jure picked us up in front of the parliament. He brought us into the Matjaž office. And I think that they knew that we are so lost and that we don't know what is happening. And they were basically our mentors in understanding the procedures, the building, what to do. And for us, the biggest challenge was to understand what is happening, because when we knew it, we knew how to communicate, we knew what to do. There was also like women from Renew Group who were helping us with the strategy. But basically without Matjaž, without Jure, without Špela, we would be totally lost. And I'm not sure if we would come after this summer back to Brussels and have the faith to be there. They helped us with like finding the apartment, where to eat, like how to function, like how to get the pass. So I really think that in the context of Slovenia, we need to understand that not all politicians are the same, and that this team is something special, and we never experienced this in the context of Slovenia.
Thank you so much, Nika. Maybe it's difficult for people to understand why it's important what Nika is explaining. But for us, as a politician, it's very important, because in this difficult moment where the polarization is very strong and hard, it's like politics is done by machines, and no. Politics is done by human. And we have our ideas, of course, and for this we are where we are, defending our ideas and defending what we are representing. But at the same time, we are human and we have our families, we have our life, we have our common interest, and it's very important that people can understand this. No, I'm not asking any privilege. I'm not asking that people can think that we are special. No, we are not special. This is what I want to explain, that we are not special. We are people like you, in this moment with a big responsibility, but when we come back to our houses, when we come back to our village, when we come back to our families, we are like you. And I want to thank Nika and all colleagues working in this initiative, because they give us like this moment to think, okay, we are like normal people speaking, discussing, working together, and really it's very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Iratxe. So the road wasn't easy for several different reasons, but also one was procedures. I remember when the vote was postponed from the plenary, and then we had to repeat the vote in the committee. It's also something that most of us have never experienced before, and I didn't even know how to consult you, but it was so important that we had even Lina as a chair of the committee that insisted on the vote to be repeated, because maybe in some other situations some other chair from some other group might just give up and say it lapsed, the procedures don't allow it. So did you feel that you had the allies in the right spots?
Yeah, like not just allies. I think I got so many new friends. Like, I really believe that, like, in friendships on first sight, like, and I immediately know when I enter the room and I see the person if I will like it or not, and if we will be friends. And I think that we got so many different friends from different political groups. One of my favorite moments was after the vote when we came, like, the whole team came to Strasbourg. It was like 25 of us. We ran in front of the voting place, and there were people from EPP, from Renew, from Greens, from Social Democrats, hugging each other, like being happy. And it was like Matthias said beautifully to me after the vote, it was not about politics, it was about a cause. And this is what we should do. And for me, this was one of the most dear memories. And another dear memory was from the first vote. And girls will need to remind me what actually happened. But we won the first vote in the FEM committee. And someone from Spain started to scream on us when we were leaving the room, "You're sick, you're disgusting." And in one moment, Lina, who is also from Social Democrats, like took the mic and she was like something like, "Stop, go out." And she really protected us. And for us, it was a moment like, wow, there are people who actually see that we are harassed, that we are getting threats, and these women are with us and they will not allow that people are screaming to us that we are sick. And it was for us one of the rare moments when we felt like in our activism that we are backed up by the institution.
Thank you. So the case of My Voice, My Choice really tells us the strength of the civil movement and how you do politics. What should we learn as politicians about civil movement engagement in politics, Iratxe?
Yesterday we had a dinner with some colleagues from the Socialny Democratic Party. Yeah, perfect. And we were speaking about this question, and I had very clear, and I say, we need to recognize everything that these people and women did it with this initiative, because we couldn't do it only as a party. No, because of course we are representing part of our society, but you are representing a common interest in this question, and you are doing something really important, and is to take together different people, as you mentioned, as you explained, from the EPP, from the S&D group, from Liberal Renew. And this is something that we as a politician in this moment, it's difficult to do it. I want to say something. In Europe, we have more room for maneuver to negotiate together and to have agreements. I think that we have more result than at the national level. At the national level, it's more difficult. The confrontation and the polarization is biggest. No? In the European dimension, we have this room for maneuver to negotiate and to work together. But it's not easy, of course. And with this concrete question, when we are speaking about the women's rights, the populists and the far right have a clear goal, no? And they are attacking women's rights, they are attacking minorities, they are attacking trade unions, and they are attacking everything that means civil society and movements who are defending the common interest, because they want to have under their control everything. And this is something that we need to learn, no? That sometimes we can do a lot of things in this case, as a political family, but there are other things that we need, this strong civil society, different organizations, to work with us, because if not, it's much more difficult to do it.
Thank you. And Nika, a question for you. Just before the vote, you had a bad feeling about the outcome, and you were quite concerned that certain MEPs were withdrawing their support. What was happening then? Why?
Oh my God. So It was a roller coaster. So for this resolution to pass, what we needed was like a strong coalition between Social Democrats, Renew, Greens, and also left, but that was not enough. So what we basically need was that we needed conservative votes, and we needed to convince EPP to basically back us up. And EPP was preparing the resolution with all the groups, and we thought that everything is okay, just until the very last moment, when some big allies from the EPP group, we became also friends with some politicians there, started to call me and started to say, Nika, really bad things are happening. There is another resolution which was basically formed by the far right and by the Slovenians, and this is an anti-abortion resolution which is against you, and it will be the first one which will be voted. And we had just a meeting, and on that meeting it was clear that it's not like taken for granted that you will win. The arguments for this were very different. Some of the groups were very angry because as a movement we are also saying clearly that what is happening in Gaza is a genocide, and they didn't like this, and they said that we need to stop saying this. The second thing which they said is that we are doing character assassinations because we were posting who voted for abortion and who voted against, and they said usually people don't see how we vote, and we were like, yeah, that's why we are here, that people know what you do. And the third thing was that the Slovenian crew started to do a very bad campaign against us. It was like in their main mission to basically stop this Slovenian project, which is supported by the big majority of Slovenians. And because of this, we thought that we will lose. And also Germany changed their position in the very last moment to be against My Voice, My Choice, not because of like content-wise reasons, as I understand, but because other political reasons entered the thing. Also, I need to mention today that today a member of parliament of Christian Democrats also was very brave after the meeting with Weber, that basically the Ursula von der Leyen will show if she's a Christian Democrat or not, basically implicating that they are doing everything to stop us on the level of the Commission. All of this was happening, and this is why we were not sure that we can win, and this is why we were basically sure that we will lose.
There's a lesson there for sure. It's interesting to see how this initiative is not taking away anything from anybody, but it's just giving an access to abortion to women that do not have it. But this raises a question: why are some, especially men, obsessed with controlling women's bodies, especially? Nika, do you want to take this?
I mean, it's the system in which we live, you know. Yeah. It's the patriarchal system. The neoliberal system needs patriarchal system to exist. And it's also, I think, their wish to be in control and deep insecurity that they have. But I think that what Institute 8 of March taught us, that it's good to ignore them, make fun of them, and win them again and again.
And you proved them right. You're wrong, actually. So the access to abortion is also, there's certain countries that limit access to abortion through social stigma or like conscientious objection of doctors. We see this happening in Croatia or Italy, in other countries as well. Is this a question linked to religious reasons, educational reasons, social reasons? And how do we overcome this?
Maybe it's not only one factor. It's not only for a religious question. It's not only for ideological question. It's for something more that has to be with the societies. If we are religious, for example, I'm thinking in my own country, because 3 decades ago we were a very religious country. But today we are one of the more progressive country about the women's right, for example. No, I think that we need to work in our societies thinking in politics about the short, medium, and long term. To work in a long term, it's always difficult because you don't have the result when you are working for the future. And in politics, it's difficult to work for the future, but it's the best thing that you can do it, thinking in this future. And I think that we could manage to change our societies in some countries, but as I mentioned in my first part of the speech, this is not granted. You can have the more progressive legislation about abortion, for example, or about other things, and you can be in danger if the populist movement is trying to attack these rights, no? And when we say, okay, the access to abortion is different depending the country, it's not only depending the country. Sometimes inside one country, it's different, the access to abortion, depending the region. For example, if you have a conservative region and always the regional government is trying to do something at the public health system to put difficulties, you have to go to another region. And for this, it's important to have a European legislation, because you need to grant it this right for the women live where they live. And I think that this is another important question, no?
I think Slovenia should be a role model for the whole Europe when it comes to reproductive rights. I think we need to be so proud as Slovenians that we have a constitution. We were the first country in Europe who got these constitutions. First country in the world. There are 2 women who basically did it in the audience. And those brave, I think Sonia is there and Jiva is there. Yeah, both of them are here. Those brave women were basically building like big tent coalition from the left, from the right, of the women who supported the right in the constitution. And because of this, the reproductive rights in Slovenia are not a big deal. Because of this, like, reproductive rights are something which are a common value. When we were collecting signatures, super religious people were coming, people who are old, people who are young, men, women. And I think that what Slovenia showed is that if a group of smart women comes together with a solution, like, they can basically normalize a country in an issue which is otherwise killing women. So whenever they ask me, like, what should we do? I always say, study Slovenia and be like us.
You can be very proud as a Slovenian to be like an example in this question. You can be proud, really.
And just looking ahead, Slovenia is ahead of elections. We don't know where the tide will go or turn. What do you think is the biggest threat to women's health today in Slovenia, but also in Europe? Can things be put under question again if the right wins? We have had statements, at least from the conservatives in Slovenia, from Christian Democrats, that they might want to reopen the question of abortion some years ago. Is this a realistic threat?
I think that we need to know that Christian Democrats and SDS voted against My Voice, My Choice in the European Parliament, that they went against their group and that they went with the far right. And this was not important in Europe, because in Europe most of the people don't know who they are, what I learned, but for Slovenian context it's very important. And they are not just a threat to women's rights, they are a threat to public healthcare, because they were the one trying to privatize it, they were the ones who are doing different corruption affairs with this. And I would always say that it's not just a threat to reproductive rights, it's a threat for the social state and it's a threat to the public health. So what I think is that if Janez Janša will be re-elected, if we will get an authoritarian government, they will attack the things which are making us Slovenians, with these free schools, free doctors, and basically the mechanisms of the collective solidarity. And this is something we need to be afraid of.
Iratxe, maybe the same for you. What do you think is the biggest threat to women's health today in Europe?
When Nika was speaking, I was remembering how important is the power of the citizens and the feminist movement. Why I say this? I will put you another example. You put a good example about Slovenia. I will put you another example about how rights can be attacked and we can backlash. No, in Spain we had a progressive and good abortion law, And one minister, justice minister from the Conservative Party, tried to change this law. They started to prepare to change the law, to reduce the right and to put more difficult to access the abortion. And a small group of women in one small region started to organize a movement. We were thinking, okay, I don't know. You cannot imagine. I will send you to one film, that a documentary that they did it about this question. The name is The Train of the Freedom, and they alone started to organize one demonstration in Madrid, organizing train trip from a different part of the country to Madrid. They did it, and of course I was part of this initiative. I take the train in my city, and I went to Madrid, and you cannot imagine how emotional was this moment. No, thousands of women, not only women, men in Madrid from a different part of the country, and finally this means that the minister decided to put the law. He withdrew the law, of course, because women have more power. But it's a clear example that everything that the civil society and the women can do. Really, don't believe that everything is lost when you have difficulties. I know that we are now in a moment with a lot of difficulties, but at the same time, it's a moment to be stronger, to be together, to work together with our differences, with our different sensitivities, but understanding that it's a moment of hope when we are working together. But we need all of you on this place, and we can do a lot of things, and we can have, like My Voice, My Choice did it, a great victory for all of us.
So the European Parliament adopted a resolution last Monday, just before the elections, to list access to abortion in the European Charter of Fundamental Rights. What is next for abortion rights in Europe? Is this the direction? Should we put it in the Fundamental Rights Charter? And how do we do that?
If we can do it, means that we have that it's a guarantee, it's a right, and we have to do after that the legislation to guarantee that this can be a reality everywhere. And this is the question, no? It will be difficult, of course, to introduce abortion in the chapter rights means that it's not only the European Commission, after that is Council who has to take part of the discussion, and we know that some governments will be not very cooperative. But while we are working on it, we are giving our voices what we have to do now stronger. And this is the question. I don't know what will happen in the next steps. What I know is that what you are doing today, it's very important to guarantee this future for our women. No? Then I don't know the result, but I know that we have to do it.
So the idea of My Voice, My Choice was that it will be just one campaign, that it will be just a campaign to protect reproductive rights. And what I can now, I think, say for the first time publicly is that we decided to stay, that we realized that European Union needs European civil society, and that whatever is next, I think we will do it together. So I'm excited.
Do you want to tell us what you're planning next?
I think now, the next thing is the decision of the Commission. If we will win, we will organize a good party in many different places in Europe. If we will lose, we will need to do a lot of protests against Ursula von der Leyen. So these are two different future steps.
But both.
Yeah.
Both are like...
Both will be fun. No, I'm kidding.
I prefer the party, of course. Yeah. But organized demonstration, it's always something that can motivate us. Yeah.
So what is, in the end, at the Commission level, winning or losing mean? So what if Commission proposes something that's very weak? We will have to put pressure on the Commission.
I think the first thing that Commission needs to say is to say yes. And we need to say no that Commission usually don't say yes to European citizens' initiatives. Right now, we have everything. Like we have citizens, we have civil society, we have like European Parliament, we have the all other institutions. We will be organizing now different governments to send the support to European Commission. So we need all the social democrat governments to support us. Golob supported us, Sanchez supported us, Macron supported us. Like we are getting country by country support. And I think that we want to put them in a position where they cannot say no and where they cannot give a weak answer. If they will say no, like we will continue to fight. And I know that in the team we are crazy enough to collect 1 million signatures again and to come again and to do everything again if it will be needed. For the weak answer, I think we should not give them the space for this. I think we should need to put pressure. And when we were on negotiations with them, what we said is that for us, it doesn't matter how it is done, but we know what it needs to be a result. If you have a woman in Croatia who is pregnant and whose life is at risk and she needs an abortion and she needs a doctor, she needs to be able to travel to Slovenia and get free abortion there. It doesn't matter how European Commission does this, but that woman needs to be safe. And this is the goal.
So, My Voice, My Choice is a citizens-driven movement, and it convinced the institutions that democratic mandate is more than just a moral appeal. It's a responsibility and it's an obligation to do something for the citizens. How do we translate that to other policy areas, other initiatives? How do we engage more citizens, perhaps in decision-making?
It's difficult because finally it's the role of the civil society and the different organizations to take part of this responsibility. We are here in Slovenia as a mission of the S&D group, and we had an agenda with the different meetings with the civil society. We always try to organize meetings in our missions in the different countries with the civil society because really it's important. We cannot have all perspective if we are only in a meeting with the governments. We need the civil society. And in all those meetings we are insisting about how important is their commitment and their work. One society will be stronger if their civil organizations are stronger. This is very clear. And for this reason, those who are attacking our democracies try to start to attacking the civil society. It's not casual. It's not casual that the far right, with the conservative in the European Parliament, organize an inquiry committee against some NGOs. No, they don't want the NGOs because they know that it's part of this responsibility and this society. No? Then what we as politicians can do is to establish and facilitate that the organizations can do their work with resources, with transparency, with accountability. We can work and cooperate with them, no? And this is our principal goal in this moment, to work together and to give them the opportunity to do their work.
Do you want to add something?
I wanted to be critical of civil society. Like, I think that the biggest mistake that civil society can do is to just raise awareness. I think you need to come with a very concrete demand around which you can mobilize people. And the second mistake that we often do is that we try to demand things from politicians, but not to be with politicians and to hide the relationships with politicians. I think that the role of civil society is also to show who are the politicians standing with the cause and who are the politicians who are against the cause, and show that not all politics is bad. And that's also one of the ways to show people why it is important to vote and also to establish friendships. And I think that kind of approach is the most honest, the most transparent, and it gives results. And I don't see it often enough.
So picking up on that, what you said, do you think the civil rights people or activists are becoming more like politicians, or are politicians becoming more like activists?
It's a mix.
You know, I met so many activist politicians in the European Parliament, and I'm really happy about this. And I think that what we need, all of us more, is to talk about concrete stuff and put the decision makers in front of a concrete decision and just push with this. Yeah, that's, I think, my answer.
I think that politicians cannot replace activists, and activists cannot replace politicians. I think that we have a common need, and we need to work together. But it's very clear what we have to do in a different way. And for this, I'm always insisting, activists has their own right to ask us, to demand, to work, to fight with one question, without think about how we will do it as a No, I understand that you have to do your work, and after that, I'm, as a politician, has to do my work. That is different than the activist. And for this, sometimes I have to explain citizens, and I have to explain some organizations, okay, this is your work, and you are doing well, and I respect your work, but now it's my work. It's difficult to explain, of course, because, for example, we as a politician needs to create the majority in one institution. And this is only possible if you negotiate. And when you are negotiating, you are accepting that you will renounce, and you will have to say yes to something that is not perfect for you. This means a negotiation, no? If I'm sitting with someone who thinks different than me, and we need an agreement, finally this agreement will be no perfect for me and no perfect for him, because we have to take this decision. And this is the role of the politician. And it's different, the role of the politician, than the role of the activist. And we need both. We need both. And we have to respect both. And we have to work together, but understanding these differences. Nika can do some things that I cannot do it as a president of the Social Democrats group. And I can do some things that Nika cannot do it as an activist. And it's comprehensive and it's normal. And it's something healthy, really.
And I think that the best thing that can happen, and which happened with My Voice, My Choice, was to establish trust between the people who are different, and who have different roles. And the most beautiful thing is that I think that a lot of us in the team would be willing to trust the people in the parliament, even with very hard decisions, because we had honest conversations and we accepted that we are different, but that we need to work together. And this is something that it's missing in general.
Very good. A good lesson to learn. We're getting slowly towards the end. I wanted to invite, if there's any questions from the audience, where I'm happy to take a few. But maybe a few more questions for the two of you. Nika, did you have the feeling that throughout the campaign and this journey, the discussion on abortion became maybe more open, or more solidar, more understanding, or less?
No, I think that what we showed is that they are lying to us. Public opinion is showing that in all the countries minus Malta, the support for reproductive rights is more than 75%. And what they're trying to do, the very loud far-right groups who are well organized, is that they tried to convince us that this is a divisive topic and this is a topic which is a hard topic. In reality, it is not. The majority of people have a basic agreement about this, and the majority of people is supporting reproductive freedom and abortion. And why they are trying to convince us that we are divided is because it comes to women's body and it comes to control over women. I always say that if this would be any other topic, which would be I don't know, something with the nature, people would fight as politicians to defend this, because it has such a big support. But here, really small and loud people, convince us that we are divided. And My Voice, My Choice showed that this is a lie, that people with different religious backgrounds, that people from different parties are united around this, and that there is this small group of organized citizens who are financed by different groups like from the US, from Russia, who are having the same agenda in every single country, and they are doing the same stuff and being loud and try to convince us that this is divisive. It's not, and I think what My Voice, My Choice showed is that this is a common value of the people, and this is a common demand, and that not a lot of people want that a pregnant woman goes to a hospital in Poland having complications, and the doctors basically kills her because of the restrictive abortion laws. This is not what people want, and we are united on this.
Thank you so much. Is there a question from the audience, perhaps?
The lessons.
The lessons, what we learned. Did we make mistakes? Did everything went okay?
We cannot be perfect, of course. I imagine that we did some mistakes during the process. No? Yeah? Okay. When you put your heart in your work, it's always easier. My lesson is that we need to act and to think with hope, really. Without hope, it's so difficult, so difficult. We are in these difficult times, and to get up every morning and think what you have to do, if it's not with hope, it's difficult. And when I can see young people like Nika and like others working with us, with this energy, with really this commitment, it's something important. That means that when you have a bad day, because we have bad days, we can think about it and we can understand that, okay, today is bad day, but tomorrow will be different, because we know that we have to do a lot of things for others.
Nika, what was the lesson that you learned?
I have like a very informal one, that like the most fun people in the European Parliament are Spanish social democrats. That's my lesson for this crowd. And the second lesson is that you need to fight and fight and fight. And even when everything falls apart, in My Voice, My Choice campaign, like it always like fell apart again and again, you need to build anyway, because the victory is not, like the victory is in the final vote and the victory is in the final decision, but the big victory is also that we have this movement. And no matter what European Commission will do, My Voice, My Choice will stay, like the connections that we have will stay, the values that we have will stay, and this is something that not a single MEP, not a single neoconservative movement, not a single fascist can take away from us.
Very inspiring. I want to ask you now, how did you first meet? How did the first meeting go?
My first meeting with
Nika,
Nika,
yes.
I remember perfectly well. It was funny. It was very easy to speak between us, and it's not usual for me to finalize one meeting with a big, huge, and I did it with her. And really, sometimes you need this type of meetings to have a better life, no?
Wait. So how I remember the meeting is that she came and we started to hug, and it was so strange because we also don't do it, but it was, I think, something with Balkan in Spain, I don't know. But then, like on the meeting, I don't know if you remember, we asked for one thing, and we asked for support of Spanish government. Yep. And we said, if you do this, if you get us your prime minister, we will get you a cake.
Yeah.
And there is a cake for you because you did it. You can read what is written on it.
Thank you.
On the cake, it is written, Iratxe, you are our girl.
Now,
So, So on this inspirational and sweet note, I would like to slowly conclude. So if you want to say your final words.
Thank you, all of you, because, yeah. Thank you, all of you, because you didn't take the floor. But if you are here, it's because you are with a clear commitment and you are working and defending our rights, women's rights. And this is defending the European values, and this is defending the European Union. Thank you, because without you, it's so difficult to continue. But we will do it together, we will be stronger, and we will have a great result. You can be sure. Thank you.
Nika, your last words.
I don't know, I think it's only the beginning, so we will say a lot more in the future.
Thank you, everyone, you also online, for taking part and for staying with us. And let's try this cake now.